Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube account. My name is Dr. Peter Blundell and I am a lecturer on multiple counselling and psychotherapy courses here in the UK. I know that there are lots of students about to start their counselling and psychotherapy courses soon, during September and October over the next few weeks. So I wanted to create a couple of videos that actually use some of my experiences as a lecturer to kind of help students either prepare or manage their counselling and psychotherapy training courses. So the first video, which is this video, is the first of three videos that I've developed to support students. This one is going to offer a little bit of guidance and support around how to prepare for your counselling and psychotherapy training. The second video, I'm going to cover some of the basics around personal development or process groups. I'm going to focus on those from a person-centered perspective because that's the approach I'm trained in. And then the final video is going to offer some advice and tips around academic writing and support. So, starting a counselling training course, I think something that's really exciting, but also can be a really daunting step to take. I remember going back to my very first course and feeling quite apprehensive before I started, not really then what the group was going to be like, and also wasn't really clear on the approach that I was being trained in because I was taking like an introductory course. So, it was all kind of very new to me. So you're all going to be in very similar circumstances, embarking on a journey that will not only deepen your knowledge, but also invites you to explore the complexities of human emotions, relationships, as well as your own identity. So the advice in this video is just to give you a bit of a guide through those initial stages of the course, maybe offering some of my own reflections on the academic, emotional, and social aspects of counsellor training. So, for my first tip, I want you to think about what type of course that you're taking. So, some of you might be very clear about what course it is that you're about to take, whereas other people sometimes sign up to a counseling and psychotherapy course, but they're not very clear what the modality or the approach is that they're going to be trained in, or even the way the course is designed. So, spend a little bit of time familiarizing yourself with the course syllabus. See what it is you've signed up for and what's going to be expected of you so that it's going to give you a bit of a sense of what to expect in terms of the structure of the course, the content, and also the amount of workload that's going to be expected, which can be quite a lot to manage when you've got other stuff going on, particularly if you're working full time, if you have children or other caring responsibilities. Now, different courses will vary and have different expectations, but most counsellor training programs now often involve some kind of combination of theoretical study, practical, obviously working with clients, and then also some kind of emotional or personal development group as part of it. So make sure you read or explore all the theories and the concepts that you need to, the practical application of how you develop your actual skills, and then also your own personal development as you progress on the course. Now, the second thing I'd suggest that you think about is the academic level and the expectations that are going to be placed on you as students. If you haven't studied at this academic level before, it can feel really overwhelming. So you might find yourself engaging with really complex psychological theories, academic writing, and research that requires a lot of critical thinking. So to prepare yourself, you could start by developing a bit of a routine for your reading and your writing. Counselor training courses typically require you to read textbooks and journal articles and case studies. So, academic reading often involves a lot of synthesizing of information, analyzing arguments, applying concepts to your understanding of human behavior. And so, it'd be really important that as you're reading, that you're systematically taking notes, summarizing the you've read in a book, reflecting on how the theory connects with your actual practice. And you need to kind of document and record that somewhere so that when it comes to your assignments, or even just thinking about your own practice, that you've got somewhere that you can look back at and see how all of these different ideas connect together. And also, when you come to write your assignments, you want to make sure that you know where those ideas have come from. Yeah, so having some kind of document or record of that is important. To develop a system that works for you early on, and I'm going to do a whole series of videos, ways to make that easier for you, or ideas that could make that easier for you. But it's also worth thinking about that academic writing in counseling and psychotherapy might require you to demonstrate both reflective thinking and an understanding of theory. So you can practice this by regularly reflecting on how the concepts you learn align with your own expectations, your own beliefs, and your own observations of what's going on in your counselling practice, as well as what's happening with your peers on the course as well. So the next thing I think is important to think about is the time commitment that counselling or psychotherapy training can take. It is a significant commitment alongside the usual classes that you'll have. You'll have assignments, you might have reflective journals to complete, personal reflections, all takes time. Yeah. You'll probably be encouraged to maintain a personal journal whilst you're on the course to reflect on your learning and your development. Writing assignments, you usually need that academic knowledge, but also some deep personal reflections, so they can take a lot longer than you might actually expect. It's a different style and different approach that might actually take you a bit more time than you're used to. You're probably going to be required to engage in practical components such as experiential workshops, learning groups, role plays, placement work. Again, these can be quite demanding and take up a lot of time and emotional energy. So you're thinking about how the theory that you've learned applies to the real life situations, and then you're exploring your emotional responses to them. Be a lot to do and take up a lot of time. So I think it's really important that you establish some kind of schedule that balances your coursework, your personal life, and your self-care, because you need to give yourself some time for yourself. So think about creating a study plan that outlines the time that you will dedicate to your reading, your assignments, and your reflection. However, be flexible with it. Some days might require some more emotional processing time when you're exploring sensitive or personal topics. So you need something that fits you, but also gives you a little bit of a contingency as well in case things need to change. The next thing I think you need to think about is the emotional impact of the training that you're going to be doing. So, counselor training is, as most people know, is emotionally demanding. You're going to be asked to explore your own inner world and reflect on your relationships, your identity, examine your intersectional identity, aspects of who you are, for example, your ethnicity, gender, class, sexuality, maybe other characteristics, influence your worldview, your values, and your experiences. And this can be, for a lot of students, could be quite profound and sometimes a challenging experience as it might resolve issues or uncomfortable truths that we've been avoiding up until now. So it's really important if you approach this process with some kind of self-compassion. You want to challenge yourself, so you want to look after yourself and make sure what it is that you're doing is manageable, you've got the emotional capacity to process it. Probably going to be asked to access personal therapy during your training, but if it's not a requirement of your training, I highly recommend finding a therapist and accessing it before the course starts if you can. I know that's not always affordable for everybody, but actually, some of the things that come up on your course, you might not have spaces to talk about it. It might not be appropriate to talk about it in personal development, or there might not be the room or the space to talk about it. So having your own therapist is going to give you a lot of space to be able to do that. Many programs either require or encourage this to support your emotional well-being, and also obviously it provides you a space to process all the material that comes up on the course. So, journaling is also a helpful tool for reflecting on your emotions, your reactions, and your patterns. Through regular journaling, you can track your progress, identify recurring themes, gain a deeper insight into yourself. You might notice that certain topics or clients trigger strong emotional reactions, and journaling might provide a safe space to explore why that's happening and how to manage it. But the emotional toll of the course isn't really limited to just your personal reflections and impact. You'll be engaging with clients, either real or simulated experiences. So, learning how to hold the space for other people while managing your own emotional responses is a critical skill which you can develop over time. As a person centered therapist, I talk about being more congruent within myself. So, identifying what emotions have come up and then deciding whether I want to share or communicate that experience with other people, either the client or a tutor or other people on the course. So, another thing that might be really important to think about, which I don't know if students always reflect on before they start a course, is what type of relationship you're going to have with your peers. So, you might not know that until you've actually met people on your course. You're going to be working really closely with them, and you probably don't know them that well, at least to start off with. But you will be working with them in experiential learning groups, doing role plays and discussions. And these relationships can be really important because you're all going through a similar process, so they can be quite supportive. But they can also be quite challenging at times, particularly when it comes to boundaries and what you share and don't share with different people. You're going to be going through a lot of personal exploration, and you might find that some topics feel extremely vulnerable to discuss openly in a group setting. So it is okay if you set boundaries about what you share and who you share that with. And just be mindful that while is important to engage with the process, you don't have to disclose absolutely everything about yourself and your personal life to your peers, especially if it doesn't feel right for you at that particular moment. You might also want to think about, how do your relationships with your peers affect your learning? So some students find that forming friendships with their peers enhances their experiences so they can support each other through the challenges of the course. Where other people prefer to maintain a little bit of a distance, so maybe you'll share in personal development groups or skills class, but not necessarily keep in contact with people outside of the course environment. And I think finding that mix in the personal and the kind of professional aspect of the relationship could be difficult to manage sometimes. So think about what feels right for you and be open to adjusting your approach as the course progresses, and thinking about how you communicate that to your peers when you're in a group setting. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about was just to think about your own processing style and how you understand yourself and manage your emotions. Some people process experiences internally, needing time to reflect before they make sense of what they've learned or felt, whereas other people process things externally, finding it helpful to talk things through with peers, tutors, or supervisors. If you're an internal process, you might make time for this type of reflection, especially after really emotionally demanding days or client work. If you're an external processor, you might want to try and seek out opportunities to discuss your thoughts and feelings with others. This could be through peer study groups, supervision, or maybe even your personal therapy. So, your processing style is going to affect how you approach personal reflections and self exploration, but try and be patient with yourself. Whether you process quickly or slowly, the most important thing is that you are engaging in the process. Over time, you will develop a deeper understanding of your emotional responses, your triggers, and patterns, which will help you become a more effective counselor. So, just to finish off, then, I think starting a counselling training course is such a huge commitment, no matter what kind of level of study you are looking to train at, because it challenges you both academically and emotionally. So, I know personally it requires a lot of dedication, self reflection, and a willingness to really think about the kind of complex things that I've been talking about in this video. So it's partly theoretical, all the kind of new terminology and phrases that you might not have heard of before, but also emotionally and socially as well, because there can be a lot of personal reflections that happen as you're on the course. So there's a lot going on there, but I don't want that to put you off. It's also an exciting time, and I'm kind of excited for you at the start of this journey. It's an exciting course to be on, whichever course you're on. I know that there'll be lots of new insights and lots of personal learnings for everybody. And it can be particularly transformational for some people. So I think if you think about some of the things that I've talked about here today. I probably haven't covered absolutely everything you need to think about before starting a counselling course. But if you think about your own approach to learning, the way you process things emotionally, kind of boundaries that you're comfortable with, that you want to have with your peers, and the emotional impact that the course is going to take. I think if you reflect on some of those things before you get onto your course, I think that's going to help you navigate things, particularly when it starts. It can be quite overwhelming. You're trying to learn a new subject, and you're trying to do the assignments and manage all of those things. So if you've had some reflections before you start, it might help you navigate that a little bit more successfully. So I hope you found this video helpful. As I said, my next video is going to be about personal development groups, and then I'm going to do another one about academic writing, which might help people with their assignments. So if you're interested in that, please click the subscribe button or follow me on social media for further insights. And I wish you the best of luck of starting on this new adventure.